Today we're going over the Zenless Zone Zero version 2.4 special program. I'll summarize all the juicy info in this 45-minute program, plus I also want to cover the 40-minute dev talk that was released earlier this week. Season 2 is transitioning into a new second half arc, and the devs dropped a lot of info on what to expect. First off, the redemption code for this program is Krampus. Enter that in-game for 300 polychromes. Version 2.4 is picking off from the Sarah and Ye Shiyuan plotline, and my goodness, things are happening. We know that the creator seems to speak to people using their voice, and it's talking to Sarah directly, it seems like. They didn't spoil too much, but Shiyuan seems to have seen the creator, or at least some form of it. Perhaps we'll get to see it too. Now we got some crazy confirmations, like Ye Shunguang was chosen by the Qingming Sword, and it seems like Ye Shiyuan's goal is to break that connection somehow. By the way, Shunguang is referred to as Xiaoguang a lot. That is her nickname among the Yunque Summit members, and Banyue also refers to Shiyuan as Ayue. Banyue actually reveals that the siblings' parents died in a miasma disaster 10 years ago, and Yunque Summit adopted them in. Shunguang then became the new master of the Qingming Sword. They didn't say why Shunguang was chosen, but you have to assume Ye Shiyuan did not let that happen willingly after she saw what the drawbacks of the sword are. We learned that Ye Shiyuan has been purposely sending Shunguang to train to keep her away from dangerous situations. Ye Shiyuan has also made a giant sheath for the sword, assuming to control its power. As you can see from the trailer, not only is Shunguang going to use the Qingming Sword, but she gets a full-on white hair transformation, complete with some kind of red Oni horn. We don't really get an explanation, but it seems like Shunguang is wielding the sword against either a corrupted Shiyuan or a miasma, drown ideal type version of him. I'm not entirely sure Shiyuan is a traitor, but he's willing to do everything possible to free his sister from the sword's devastating drawbacks. Apparently that includes having to partner with Sarah and the creator, plus get a new black outfit. While it wasn't discussed really at all, there is definitely a subplot revolving around Dialyn and Banyue. They are the featured playable agents for this version. Dialyn is another Krampus judge like Zhao, and Banyue seems to probably be a former Yunque Summit member, although I don't think that's ever been confirmed outright. At the very least, Ye Shiyuan trusts him enough to help the Phaethon siblings. Now for the 2.3 story, it seems like Banyue isn't a part of Krampus, and Dialyn has even been looking for him. Zhao referred to him as a purge unit type 0, which doesn't sound very friendly to say the least. From the separate 2.4 teaser, we got a shot of a more menacing looking Banyue behind Dialyn. My assumption is that Banyue, purged some people in a not so just way in the past. Now, whatever the case, I'm guessing we'll see Banyue join Krampus for some reason, maybe as a type of redemption, or perhaps as a way to rein Yunque Summit in. Krampus is all about balancing the power of the TOPS members, and I assume TOPS in general wouldn't want Yunque Summit to become too powerful. We already know Ye Shiyuan is Void Hunter level, and the Qingming Sword can give someone Void Hunter strength, so yeah. We actually have more Void Hunter topics to cover, so stay tuned. Let's now talk about Dialyn and Banyue's kits. Dialyn is an S-rank physical stunner who fights using a chakram/hula hoop thingy that also acts like a portal that effectively summons giant versions of her limbs, giving me some Bayonetta vibes. Dialyn will need to build up a positive reviews resource, and her EX special is a 3-part rock, scissors, paper combo. If you land the paper palm smash, Dialyn extends the next stun duration and increases the stun damage multiplier. With enough positive reviews, or after using ultimate, Dialyn can gain a customer complaint point. With this point, you can hold basic attack to use the Get Lost move. If this triggers a chain attack, the next ally to swap in converts their chain attack into an ultimate. This will consume some positive review. You can actually do the chain attack into ultimate conversion outside the stun phase, but it's going to cost more positive reviews. For her addition ability, Dialyn needs an attacker rupture ally. She can boost the crit damage of her EX specials, and using these moves or ultimate will grant an overwhelmingly positive damage buff for her team. To summarize, Dialyn kinda combines a bunch of other stun agent abilities. She extends the stun timer, increases the stun damage multiplier, and I believe provides a general damage buff for the team. Her specialty is to convert a chain attack into an ultimate for an ally, which is an incredibly strong ability. They didn't really show it, but Ye Shiyuan should probably be able to throw down 3 ultimates in total now, and obviously multiple ults for any damage dealer is going to be a lot of fun. So far, it seems like Dialyn should be able to work for a lot of different teams. I'm not so sure how much fill time she will require, but I'm curious how she would do in a double stun team. Next up, Banyue Shifu is a S-rank fire rupture agent. Drowned Ideal Monita wanted to face off against this guy, and oh boy, I'm not sure that would have been a good idea. Banyue is insanely cool, but when Mr. Z says he's an agent with a high skill ceiling, then Banyue may not be for everyone. Banyue can use a combination of basic attacks and special attack inputs to do various moves, and I'm pretty sure it's not just one button per move, it's literally fighting game style, multiple inputs for one move. On top of this, Banyue's moves have a perfect cancel timing. I believe it's the little red flash you see on his back. If you can time each move correctly, you can launch the next attack faster. Banyue will have iframes during EX special moves, but he also has a parry state that can trigger a perfect block if timed correctly. When you spend adrenaline or you parry or block, Banyue can build up a Wrath of Fire resource. After you hit 120 points, you can hold basic attack to enter the Visage of Wrath state. If you hold special during this state, Banyue will automatically do an EX special combo, ending with the awesome Toppling Mountain finisher. However, from his additional ability, which needs a stunner support agent, Banyue will get bonus fire damage if you do the quick command input version of the EX specials. Obviously, if you're going to play Banyue, you're going to want to master the manual input versions of these moves. To further play into that, if you do the manual inputs, then Banyue does an extra attack before the Toppling Mountain finisher. In conclusion, Banyue is going to be a flashy high skill ceiling agent that will use multiple inputs to do a variety of moves. I'll do my best, but I have a feeling Banyue's guide is going to be pretty long. For the 2.4 banners, Phase 1 will feature Dialyn and her signature dub engine, Yesterday Calls. With a new stun extender, Hugo will be rerunning. I imagine Dialyn will be a pretty solid option if you don't have lighter. Now the rate up A ranks for this phase will be Corrin and Billy. Since Dialyn isn't a physical agent, she can actually activate the additional abilities for those two attackers. In Phase 2, Banyue is up with his signature, Wrath of Vajra. His rerun partner is Ellen, who isn't exactly a teammate option, but she has gotten her rework if you're a fan of the Shark Maid. The rate up A ranks are Sokaku and Seth. Also not the best for Banyue specifically, but that's just how it goes for some phases. With that said, very important to know that Phase 2 only lasts for 12 or 13 days. This means version 2.4 is about 5 weeks instead of the standard 6 weeks. The next patch will end right before New Year's, which means 2026 will kick off with a fresh version 2.5. You can expect a certain Ye Shiyuan to be there. As a reminder, the Vivian swimsuit outfit event is still ongoing in version 2.4. Any limited pulls for the agents or W engines will contribute to that 180 mark for the swimsuit and other rewards. Sadly, Bangbu pulls will not count, but there will be a new Krampus S-rank Bangbu available. Berkblick uses a laser turret, and if you use 2 Krampus agents, then they deal extra days. Berkblick also comes with a chain attack. As usual, you can select and get Berkblick guaranteed eventually in the Bangbu banner. Our next topic is the events for 2.4. The Bangbu Auto Chess event is back. We got new Bangbu options, and you can deploy up to 6 total now. They added new special stages where you can get powerful buffs. Like before, there will be a computer matches and PvP. In this event, you can unlock a new A-rank Bangbu called Building Bullock, along with its upgrades. It swings a Lego hammer and hilariously leaves behind Lego spike traps. Truly the most dangerous weapon we've seen. Now if you have a support agent, the active skill deals more damage and leaves behind more Legos. In the Neo Golden Mech event, Grace has gotten roped into making a movie involving the big Bangbu mech. I don't know if they're going to be we're going to have the regular stages like last time, but there is a new side-scrolling mode. You can still get new upgrades for the mech, and Eos will actually be able to fight outside of the mech. We creep closer and closer to an actual playable Bangbu agent. For completing this event, you can get a new name card reward. Next, the 100% Miss Bunny event features Zhao. I'm not entirely sure what it's about, but we're going to help her out, and she's going to give us polychrome, so all good. In the Lightstream Notes event, we're hanging out with Senior Shunguang to make memories. This one's a little sad since we know the Qingming Sword robs the user of their memory. If you want to ponder about how this story arc will end, check out Shunguang's quote from the Season 2 teaser again. It's a little different now that we know what we know. For the Simulated Sequence Showdown, this is another VR combat event. These are nice because usually you get to test out the new agents of the patch in a slightly more interesting environment than just the story missions. To add to that, Banyue and Dialyn will get Tactical Prisms and Hollow Zero's Lost Void. That will be another way to try out these agents. Last up, as usual, Shield Defense and Deadly Assault will continue to get updated. We also got double drop rewards for leveling materials and drive dis events. Next, we got a couple quality of life optimizations in version 2.4. New accessories will be available at Devon Pawn Shop, and interestingly, the periodically refreshing rewards will be removed after next update. They will instead be available through other methods. Maybe to tie into that, Sweetman Temple will get an automated management system which you can use after hitting level 35. Basically, that's when you complete the story quest for this thing. The system will automatically claim orders from Yumcha Sin, so you don't have to do all that for Omni Coins and Cloud Crest. Last, the Bangbu sorting order will be updated to default to High Star Bangbu and then Latest Bangbu. The last 10 minutes of the program was a special section where ZZZ writer M answered some questions about the story and lore. I'll try to sum everything up, but some answers were pretty vague, so check it out if you're interested. First, answers and clarifications to Season 2 mysteries. The second half of the Season 2 story will start in version 2.4. With Isolde gone, the main Exaltus forces are scattered. Apparently Sarah was instructed to bring that power to the creator. Unsure exactly what that means, maybe it involves the Ye siblings. Now according to M, the Exaltus members have never actually seen the creator's face. Instead of a concrete being, the creator, and I quote, seems to be more of a convergence of countless logics, end quote. I will let smarter people decipher what that means. When asked about tops, M explains that they are the top tier business tycoons who can compete with the city's government, aka the mayor. Tops cannot enforce laws though, and they are kept in check by the military, the city administration, and then HAND, which is the Halls Affairs department. M said they will actually release a Tops related promotional video so that we can take a look at the organization more. Now as for Krampus, they are the regulatory organization within Tops. Members have their own ways to judge situations and act accordingly to keep the balance of power within Tops. Last, Spook Shack is an internet forum meant for sharing urban legends and paranormal tales. The anonymous nature led to our Spook Shack faction having a variety of members. Now the next questions involved future plot points, and a lot of this references the lore trailer released way back when that showcased the other AIs besides Fairy and then the original Void Hunters. M does confirm we will see the other AIs in the future. Those would be Jinny, Ghost, and Yokai. It sounded like the others may already be awakened. Now in regards to Carol Arna and Helios Academy, M says faith and special powers from their implants will be expanded upon in the future. He also clarifies that Seed says the Faith and siblings are her kind because the Helios Academy kids were involved in some kind of plan. Obviously, shady things were going down at that school. The next piece of info is going to fuel endless theories because M states that not all the original Void Hunters are gone for good. We can assume Miyabi's ancestor isn't one of those, but oh lord, it's going to hit hard when one of these guys do make their way into the story. I would assume Professor RK has a good chance to return. The founder of the Helios Academy went into Hollow Zero and never returned. Ooh. Now to add to this lore, M states some capable people aren't keen to the current title of Void Hunter, and some others even join organizations that oppose the Void Hunters. I assume he's referring to people who are Void Hunter level in terms of power, like Ye Shiyuan. Now moving on, the Qingming Sword was discovered near Lemnian Hollow and was originally an object that fed off the ether within humans. It took a master of ether to suppress its power, but they could not destroy it, thus it was forged into the Qingming Sword. That established Yonkoi's summit. M did compare the Qingming Sword to Miyabi's Cursed Blade. He seemed to confirm that both of those have a close connection with the Hollows. In regards to Shunguang and the Qingming Sword, apparently her talents rivals Ye Shiyuan. M reaffirms that the sword chose Shunguang, and to try and prevent the drawbacks of the sword, Ye Shiyuan made a sword case to suppress its effects. Ye Shiyuan is purposefully distracting Shunguang with training so she doesn't end up in dangerous missions. She'll resort to deception until she can find a permanent solution to that sword. Changing topics a bit, apparently later Season 2 chapters will return to the Janus Corridor, and we're going to meet new characters from public security. I would assume this could be Set's brother. M also states that we're going to see more Krampus members, and he kind of made it sound like they'll be playable. We'll see. For another tease, apparently an old friend is going to be the main focus of a new story, and we'll get to see the debut of a Season 3 character. So that was the end of the version 2.4 special program summary, but the talk about new agents leads nice into another topic I want to share. If you're a casual observer of ZZZ news, you've probably not seen the out-of-game marketing for the Angels of Delusion. Within the last couple of weeks, an Angels of Delusion Twitter account has been making in-universe posts. The official ZZZ account doesn't follow them, but they follow the official Astra account, and Astra follows the Angels plus responded to some of their posts, so I think that's good enough to be official. Now, there isn't a link to a YouTube account as well, but they only posted the same things as the Twitter account so far. Anyway, we've gotten actual in-game looks at the other members. Their profile picture has the clearest view of the other two, although we seem to be missing a robot. Speaking of, in the post they've made, the name Aria pops up. During that limited time event where Astra was teased, the account name we used to help out the Intention Construct also includes the name Aria. That would kinda imply Astra knows one of the members, but she didn't know the backpack girl from the summer event. Whatever this all means, it's a safe assumption that the Angels of Delusion will finally hit the stage, probably following Zhao and Ye Shiyuan. That means most likely version 2.6. Now, assuming season 2 will also end with version 2.7 like in the first year, then we do not have many spots left for new agents. The Virtual Idol faction has been confirmed to release in season 2, so I wish you the best of luck if you want everyone here. If you're still here, I want to go over the dev talk that was released earlier this week. A lot of juicy info about the future was shared, but sadly that 40-minute video did not get an official English translation this time. Thanks to some nice translators, there is a non-official version posted on YouTube that includes translations. I'll link it in the description. I cannot vouch for the accuracy of said translations, but I cross-checked with another written version and they seem to both agree on the key points. With that said, on HoYoLab and from the ZZZ Twitter account, we did get a summary of what was discussed. I'll touch on all the talking points from that graphic. First up, main story highlights. As mentioned, version 2.4 is the turning point in the story and will focus more on Sarah, Ye Shiyuan, and the overarching main plot. This will expand into version 2.5 and will uncover more info on Carol Arna, plus other new Eridu mysteries like the Lemnian Hollow. For plot structure, the devs mentioned that they wanted characters to be able to develop on their own before bringing everyone together for a final goal. Unfortunately, this can get repetitive, especially when the final goal usually ends up being a boss fight. Now, the devs think this is something they can improve upon and wanted to find more fleshed out ways to tie narrative with gameplay. Some of the examples they discussed and seemed to like were the quick time event in the Isolde fight, or the escape from Wandering Hunter segment. From the narrative topic, Astra's integration into the story is a bit rough since she was teased in a limited time event that new players simply won't experience. Since then, they've tried to focus on introducing new characters earlier, so players have more attachment or at least familiarity with them before those characters become playable agents. For Season 2, for example, Monito has been with us since the start, but only playable recently. Zhao appeared in 2.2, got more screen time in 2.3, and isn't even playable in 2.4, so that's a good example. Ye Shiyuan actually has been teased since the Season 2 teaser, but we only saw her actual face in 2.3. By the way, here is a brief clip of Shunguang in-game that was only in the dev talk. She is definitely going to be flying or something on that big sword sheath case thingy. In regards to older agents and NPCs, ZZZ will continue to involve older friends when possible, and they want to reward longtime players for, interacting with the world. They mentioned the movie theater event got a lot of positive reception, and the dev team likes Venus themselves for various reasons. Venus is a really good example because her questline was ongoing as more places unlocked in Season 1. That made her involvement with the movie event really rewarding when she got a new outfit. Hopefully one day we get an answer to find out what happened to Officer Mew Mew. Now for other story points, the older mystical setting in Wi-Fi Peninsula and Yunkai Summit has clashed with the modern tech elements of proxy work and the AI plot with Fairy. The devs want to balance this better. The new Threshold Simulation mode is an example with a heavier emphasis on Fairy. They also acknowledge that they want to utilize Internet better. I kinda miss the doom scrolling sections in between chapters. Personally, I thought that was a more fun way to do the time progression instead of just going to sleep and then waking up immediately. The next topic is sort of related to what we've been discussing, urban evolution. Very soon, we're getting more shops in older locations, including the 404 era Live House, the Bunyan Antique Shop in Phylum Heights, and then the Hot Pot Restaurant in Lumina Square. I wonder if they plan to do something with that fluffy pet shop. Now for combat zones, they mentioned Ye Shiyuan will have a mobility ability that interacts with the environment. Obviously, you're not going to need Shunguang for interacting with the area, but it sounded like she might be involved with that somehow. Now in the video, it was pretty much a single line, so not much else to say, but they mentioned integrating monster abilities with the environment. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. In terms of the map, Phaethon's reception abilities will be involved more for exploring. They also included more things to find, such as Bangbu who lead you to rewards, collectibles to grab, and then side quests to do. Not necessarily a bigger map, but just making sure each area is more feature rich. As the quality of life changed, they're going to allow you to explore the map during story progression, and you can collect any rewards that normally would be there. That's great for players who just want to run around. Next topic, diverse game modes or events. They mentioned continuing to utilize popular mechanics for more innovation. Things like fishing, the surfing minigame, and of course the camera event were all second iterations of things we previously had. They didn't mention any specific ones, but they did acknowledge some events weren't as polished as they could have been. With that said, they will continue to create new casual events, and they want to focus on ones that showcase agents living their daily lives in the modern setting of ZZZ. Now, there was a good discussion on HoloZero. Basically, with the work they've done since moving away from TV mode, they feel their stage environments can better support an experience than the stage-to-stage current progression of Lost Void. They mentioned that HoloZero should retain some kind of pressure or limits when you explore, and they plan to expand beyond the new ability-esque roguelike aspects. There wasn't really any concrete details, but I'm excited to see what they do with it. Next, a surprising mention was that co-op is coming back. There was co-op in the beta, but it never made it to the full release of the game. Since then, they've been working on infrastructure and mentioned things like the Banyue Fall Guys event, hoping with that kind of multiplayer experience. Understandably, they need to ensure agents can fit co-op, because some kits just don't work if you can't swap agents. For example, how is Asher gonna work? And I don't know how the Aftershock stunners are gonna function when you can't be off-field. Now, there's also the issue of time-stopping events like chain attacks or ultimates. They mentioned that they will have a way to unleash chain attacks, so I'm really curious how that'll work out. For other features, they want to include more stages that require coordination, and they plan to have more than just a big boss battle for the co-op experience. For the fourth section, Combat Level Up, the devs wanted to reiterate that they want players to be able to use the older agents they've invested in. This was one of the goals of the Threshold Simulation mode, to allow older agents you built up to contribute. Naturally, power creep is still a thing, and the devs were asked about buffing more agents like Ellen or Ambi. We got official news that they will be buffing standard gacha agents, plus other limited ones of course. Expect more news in 2.5, or maybe hit up some of those internet forums if you know what I mean. Now, besides our agents getting new mechanics, the devs also want to play around with new enemy interactions aside from Perfect Assist. If Yidhara is going to offset attacks, may I suggest the possibility of power clashes? The Azota fight kind of plays around with that idea. Now, if they want to focus on enemy interactions, I would also kind of hope maybe they use this chance to take a look at the defense agents. Maybe giving them more interactions with enemies could be a way to make that class stand out more. For the last section, we have quality of life updates. The devs want to continue to improve the new player experience and help them catch up to everyone else in terms of content. User accessibility is great. For veteran players, Sweeping Temple is getting a one-click AFK feature that was shown in the program. Something I don't think was mentioned in the Dev Talk video was an Ether Battery Quick Sweep. We already have sweep tickets for drive discs, so maybe it's something like that, or perhaps a way to keep fighting without that menu popping up. Now, apparently, drive disc substat selection is going to be a thing in the future. I assume this is going to be with the tuning calibrators. Other Hoyo games have this feature, so it's not a huge surprise, but it's nice to see it nevertheless. Last, in-combat damage compilation is a bit of a weird term, but apparently this is going to allow us to see damage add up in one big value instead of many tiny hits. I assume this will be a toggle, but very nice addition for those that want to see the damage dealt and still see what the enemy is doing. Whew, now that was a lot of ZZZ news. Hope you enjoyed and look forward to version 2.4, which releases later this month. Most of the stuff in the Dev Talk was pertaining to like 2.5 and later, so also look forward to those things. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.